Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurumedeva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Om Ganganapate Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya Om Namah Shivaya Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Swaminarayanaya Namaha Om Shri Hari Krishna Maharajaya Namaha Om Shri Narnarayanaya Namaha Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Kashtabhanjan Dev Ki Jai Om Namo Hanumate Bhayabanjanaya Sukham Kuru Phat Swaha Om. Welcome to SwaminarayanSpirituality.com. This is Sachin. We are today starting our exposition of Shree Vachanamrutam. This is going to be completely in English. So all Gujarati, Sanskrit or Hindi words will all be translated very carefully into the best English possible. I'll make the best attempt for that. Also, this endeavor is only possible by the grace of God. This is not possible for Sachin or really anybody to give any kind of exposition on scripture such as Vachanamrut because it is called Paravani. So I'm going to go through it carefully, but I want to do a small prarthana to the gurus and the sages for blessings because we have no capacity to do anything actually. It is only by grace, by krupa, that we can do something as a seva. So along those lines, I'll speak a few mantras and few shlokas to ask for blessings from all the great sages who have come before, who are here now on the planet Earth and other places perhaps, as well as who are yet to come. That is the Guru Krupa. So along those lines, just a couple of verses, then we'll begin. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Chaitanya Shashvatam Shantam Vyomatitam Niranjanam Nadabindu Kalatitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamah Jano Janannidam Satyam Muchyate Bhava Bandhanat Om Dhyanamoolam Guror Murti Mantramulam Guror Vakyam Pujamulam Guror Padam Mokshamulam Guror Krupa Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Gnanamurtim Dvandatitam Gaganasadrusham Tattvamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalavachanam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Swaminarayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Sahajananda Swami Maharajaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Nilakanta Varani Maharajaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Ghansham Maharajaya Namo Namaha Om. Okay, with that prarthana, I want to give today a background on Vachanamrut. The Vachanamrutam, what is it? What does the word mean? It is a composite of two words, Vachan plus Amrut. So when you combine the two words together, that is called Vachanamrut in Sanskrit or Gujarati or Hindi, Punjabi, etc. Vachan means words. The words that were spoken by Sajanand Swami, who is known as Bhagavan Swaminarayan and other names also. Those words that were spoken for years are compiled in extracted and edited form in this book that is known as Vachanamrut. So there were, during the time of Maharaj, and when I use the word Maharaj, I'm referring to Swami Sajanand, or who is known as Swaminarayan, and we'll talk about what that word also means later on. But this is a compilation of discourses that spans 10 years. It's a 10-year span, and only 262 days worth of talks are recorded. And that 262 days worth of talks is the scripture published by the Vartal Gadi. So there's two Gadis, Gaddis jisko kehte hain. There are two administrative branches that were created during the time of Maharaj. And one is in Vartal and one is in Ahmedabad. So in Vartal Gadi, the 262 Vachanamrut Granth is published from there. In the Ahmedabad Gadi, there's a temple of Nar Narayan Dev. And in Ahmedabad, there's Nar Narayan Dev. In Vartal, there's Lakshmi Narayan Dev. The two Swarupas are there. So in Ahmedabad Gadi, which is under the Acharya Parampara, the Vachanamrut is 273. There are additional 11 Vachanamrut that were spoken in Ahmedabad. There is some controversy about this point. People in the Vartal Sanstha and all of the organizations that are connected to the Vartal, even if they are different gurukuls or splits from there, they accept the 262. Some of them will put the additional 11 Vachanamrutam at the end, like in the BAPS organization, and in Gujarati they're called Vadharana Vachanamrut. They're additional Vachanamrut. But the 262 is as is, and then they put the 11 like in an appendix, as an addition. Not appendix, but just as a continuation afterwards. If you go to the Ahmedabad Sanstha or the organizations underneath that, in that Kalupur Mandir, and the organizations within that, you will always find Vachanamrut has 273. The text is the same. There may be some difference here and there with some names of some people here and there, but that doesn't change the meaning at all. So the text of the 262 is the same. And then there is some controversy about the 11 additional Vachanamrut. BAPS organization does accept those as additional Vachanamrut. But there are some organizations under Vartal organization that do not accept those additional Vachanamrut, and I won't go into that here, why that is. It doesn't matter. The teachings of those additional 11 are phenomenal, absolutely tremendous. And we will be talking about that as we move along. So now, some more background. The life of Sajanand Swami Maharaj, from my perspective, and I'm going to share with you, this is Sachin's perspective based on the spirituality of Swaminarayan. It is not about sectarianism. It is not about any one organization. It is certainly not about any divisive attitude, which is unfortunately present in all organizations. It's there throughout the world in every tradition. So we want to go beyond that. We respect everyone, love everyone. Love is there. But my approach, or the approach within this person by the grace of so many gurus, is universal. It is even beyond universal. Universal is also too small. We will talk about that, what that means, that word universal. So Sajanand Swami, his life was 49 years on this planet. It's not very long. A life that was filled with massive integration of all spiritual paths. All bona fide spiritual paths. Right from the beginning, right from birth. So up to the age of 11, that is called Ghansham Charitra. His name was Ghansham. The last name was Pandey. And the body is born in a Brahmin family in Uttar Pradesh in a small village called Chapaiya. And the caste is Sarvariya Brahmin. So his father's name was Dharmadev. And his mother's name is Bhakti Mata. And there's a lot of history and charitra about that. I won't go into that here because we want to get into Vachanamrut. But I just want to briefly mention these points that right from childhood, there is an inherent realization. In Vachanamrut, Maharaj has mentioned that before I entered into the womb of the mother, I had already realized, I was always in the realization of the Atma. He has mentioned in Vachanamrut Garada Pratham number 18 that I am a Anadi Mukta. It's a very interesting statement. That I am eternally liberated. So what does it mean? And I will explain this very carefully. And my humble request to anybody listening to this now or in the future is to listen to the whole sequence of these recordings and talks to unfold the whole picture. Please, my prayer is for anybody to not jump to conclusions right away. This is a very profound and highly intricate subject. And it is not something that can be explained in a short period of time adequately. In short time, you can explain some ideas, that's all. So this word, these two words, Anadi Mukta, he used about himself in Vachanamrut, Garada number 18, Pratham 18. The word Anadi means beginningless. This word will come again and again. I'm just giving some background here. We'll go into this sequentially when we begin the Vachanamrut actually. But the word Anadi is saying that I am eternally liberated. This is the first idea. It is not that Sajanand Swami, he could have been given any name. The name is not of consequence in that sense, from a Tattva point of view. But Ramanand Swami had given him that name, and that comes in the Charitra later on. He is talking about the fact that he is an eternally liberated being. Now, what does that mean, actually? And so we have a distinction right at the beginning of two types of beings that are manifesting in this world, in the human body. Most human beings are coming into the frame of the material world because of the causal body, Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is the Mahamaya. It is the block. It is that engulfment in ignorance. In the Jivatma, the Chaitanya Jivatma, the Atma Tattva that is bound this way, is born again and again and again. And there's quite a bit of highly intricate metaphysics behind this, which we will get into, because Vachanamrut discusses that extensively. So we are born because of causal body. This point should be clear. If it's not clear what causal body is right now, it will become clear later. So anyone listening to this at some point, if anything is not clear, write down the questions, write down the points, send me a message. I will try to clarify. I'll show you where to find the answers, and we will go that way. So point I'm making here right now is that we are born because of causal body. There are also those that are born because they are mukta. They are liberated beings. They don't have causal body. Now somebody will say, how can somebody be born without Karana Sharira? In many scriptures you will find that if the Karana Sharira is not there, you will not be able to take birth here. Even Adi Shankaracharya ji has talked about this cycle of birth and death. Bhagavad Gita talks about cycle of birth and death. And by the way, I will be referring to multiple scriptures based on my study to try to pull these ideas together. So how is it that somebody can be born in this world without the causal body? How is that possible? Can that happen? Well, the answer is yes, it can happen. It can happen because of grace, krupa. These are liberated beings living in a different dimension beyond the world of the prakriti that we call sansara. And this word we will also look at. The sansara is this material manifestation that is within the purview of our senses. That is called sansara. And that which is beyond the sansara, like in Vishnu Sahasranam, the word is Indriya Tit. This word Tit means beyond. Guna Tit, beyond the three gunas. Indriya Tit, beyond the senses. Deha Tit means beyond the body. So in Sanskrit, the word means beyond. Tit means beyond. So those beings that are not in the realm of Prakriti, which means they're not in the realm of the Brahmanda. Brahmanda means universe, but this word universe is not the right translation for the word Brahmanda. Again, this is another metaphysical subject, but I just want to point out that the Brahmanda has 14 lokas. As per the Srimad Bhagavatam and many other scriptures, this is a revelation of the rishis, and they were able to go in samadhi, in trance, and see all of this phenomena, all of these lokas. You cannot find the Svarga Loka or the Maharaloka or any such Loka through a telescope or a microscope or any instrument of any kind. You'll never find it that way. Because it is beyond the material space. It's called Bhautik Akash. It is beyond that. Those lokas exist in different dimensions. And they can only be seen through samadhi. They cannot be seen through any theoretical physics or any high power telescopes or any of that. Because those telescopes and microscopes are only an extension of our senses. They are not going to show you something beyond your senses. So, the liberated beings, these are called mukta. The word mukta means that who is liberated. And the word anadi means from beginningless time, the liberation is there. Again, there's controversy about that to some extent, but there's different ways of understanding this word anadi mukta also. This is another massive subject. It can take 50 hours to explain that, which I won't go into right now. But I just want to open the crack on this, that there is something like this that is talked about. So when Sajanand Swami says that I am a anadi mukta, he is saying that there are beings that are beyond the realm of Prakriti, that are unbounded from time immemorial. Even if they were bounded at one point, once you get to liberation, you will state, Vachanamrut also states, you will actually feel and believe, or you will be in that state that I was never bound. This is written in Vachanamrut also, that when the Atma is realized, when the Atma is actually realized that, I have always been free. I was never actually bound. Some kind of a distortion came in between that we call Maya. But that's not who I am at all. This is also in Vachanamrut. And that is very much in line with Advaita Vedanta. So, Maharaj is saying that I am a nitya mukta. I am a anadi mukta. In Vachanamrut, in some places in one place he has said this. What does this mean for his manifestation? Why is he here? Again, there's a lot of story behind his manifestation, about the Badrikashram story and the Durvasa story, which I'll cover in some other recording. On the Charitra side, I want to move towards the Vachanamrut. So I want to mention something else here. That any great being who has manifested on this planet, there are two things to keep in mind. One is called Charitra, that they have their life sequence of life events. That is called Charitra, and that has been documented as Charitra Grantha. And the other part of documentation is their teaching. That is called the Brahma Vidya or Jnana Grantha. So this is another point to really keep in mind. And we'll get back to this thing about the manifestation in just a moment. So, for example, Sri Krishna has spoken the Gita. That's the belief, that actually Vedavasji has written that. So the Bhagavad Gita doesn't have Charitra in there. But all 700 verses are Brahma Vidya, about the Atma and the Paramatma, about the release of the Jivatma from its bondage into the divine state. That is that wisdom, that Jnana, those words spoken by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. That is for the whole of creation, whole of humanity. Now the Charitra of Sri Krishna is in the 10th skand of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dasam skand. That Charitra is there. So Charitra is Leela for those who are these muktas, liberated being. I'm just going to say liberated being for now. I won't even get into the word avatar right now. Let's just stay with this word mukta, a liberated being who manifests here. Why? There are several reasons. One possible reason is that being has a desire to open the door into liberation for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. That is one possibility. Another possibility is that liberated being is sent by Paramatma, Parabrahma, Paramatma, that to do the work over here. It is sent by God. Second possibility. There may be another possibility that the liberated being is not 100% liberated. Or let's put it this way, there is a liberation, there are 100% liberated, but there's still a desire of some kind. This is the first thing I was talking about. The desire to open the doorway for millions of jivas to be liberated. The desire to see how the universes are created. Utpatti, Sthiti, Pralay. How does the Brahmand work? What is the mechanism of the Brahmanda? What are the powers behind that? That curiosity. So one who is a liberated being could have something called Mahakaran Sharira. So what is that? Remember, as I mentioned before, we are born because of Karana Sharira. But the Muktas, they also have some level of Mukta, some category of the liberated beings have something called Mahakarana Sharira. Mahakaran means what? Their desires are not like our desires. They want to see millions of jivas come out of the bondage of life and death. So they are born because of that desire, but they do not lose their realization. Nonetheless, on this point, in Vachanamrut, Sajanand Swami has also mentioned that you may be of the highest of realization once you come under the influence of Maya, even through the best wishes for helping the world and whatever. He has given the example of Muktanand Swami and Gopalanand Swami, that they are liberated beings. But the force of Maya is such that it is possible for any mukta who comes into the material world to reach a stage of Jad Sangna. Jad Sangna means what? Stone-like body. The degradation can happen so much that the Jivatma enters into a inanimate object. That is the tremendous level of degradation. Just think about this, that the highest level of realized beings, if they come into this Maya, and if they, by the influence of the three gunas of Maya, slowly, their realization is forgotten. And their jivatma can get trapped in the cycle of birth and death. It doesn't mean that the realization is gone, but the influence of Maya is covering that realization because they have chosen to come inside the Mahamaya. That is why you will notice one thing. Look at this Santa Parampara throughout the world, in any tradition. Those who are truly enlightened, awakened beings see their life. They have taken steps all the time to never deviate from that resonance with enlightenment. You take anybody that is known, let's say, many people are not known, but those who are known, they do not deviate because they are born with that realization, and they are also born with that force that they want to serve the jivas. They want to serve the humanity and show the path, to serve in such a way to show the path back into realization, back into Godhead, or back into that enlightened state. But even such individuals, slowly, through the contact of Mahamaya, because once you come into Mahamaya, once you get into the physical body, there is every possibility of going in a direction into Rajogun, Tamogun, into the entanglements of the material world. It's like a person who's trying to liberate others, and that person himself gets bound, because that can happen, definitely. It has happened to a lot of people. And in fact, it happens more to those who are close to realization. They are not completely muktas. They are close to mukta state. They are very close to mukta state, but they come back again as yoga bhrashta, as the Gita says. And then the desire to help others, like in the Buddhist tradition, the bodhisattva, is like, you can draw a comparison. The bodhisattva is someone who is a mahakaran sharir, something like that. But you could even take it one level below that, someone who is a close to realized being, but the desire to help others is so intense. If the karana sharira goes away, the mahakaran sharir appears. And to cross that is next to impossible. Because you are flooded with compassion for all. This is the fact. So one might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's nothing wrong with it. That's what happens. And the liberated being, or who wants liberation, needs to be careful of not getting entangled with the process of liberation that he or she is trying to show for the world. If a person gets entangled in the process that is shown by disciples and organizations and all kinds of things that develop usually around such beings, people start to adore them, all kinds of things. A liberated being can easily get caught in that, because you're underneath the influence of the three gunas of Maya to some extent. So when Sajanand Swami is saying, I am a anadi mukta, in his realization, that realization never goes away. Anadi mukta means that a being that is eternally liberated and can never get entangled. Even if the body is taken and Charitra is done and Leela is done, everything is done, the body is taken by such beings, but there is not the slightest forgetting for even a fraction of a second under the influence of time of the realization of the Atma. That is the difference between Anadi Mukta and those who are muktas, they're liberated beings, but have some tinge of the causal of the Mahakarana Sharira. Now, this is some of the background. When Sajanand Swami is a name that is given after taking Diksha at the age of 18. But the name has meaning. It has tremendous meaning. It is liberating, no question. But remember, the Atma doesn't have any name. The Atma doesn't have any form also. The Atma is described as Sat Chit Ananda. You will see again and again in the Vachanamrut, Maharaj is constantly saying Jai Satchidananda. Again and again. At the end of each discourse, most of the discourses end this way, Jai Satchidananda. That itself shows that one needs to evolve out of the differentiation of Nama Rupa, names and forms. But these forms in the Prakriti, one is trapped by their constant influence on the mind. So anyway, Sajanand Swami, his manifestation, it is a manifestation here, is not actually here. See, it's something like this. Take this Zoom recording. I can see my own image on this recording right now. I am actually as I am. But the camera is recording my image, and I can see my image, I can see your image on the screen. But that image doesn't have any actual reality. It has a relative reality. So it's something like that the manifestation here on this planet through human body, it is a projected image through Mahamaya. In Swamini Vato, which we will also connect, Swamini Vato is what? That is Gunatitanand Swami's teachings. And in the BAPS organization, there are 7 chapters, prakaran, of this Vato, of this very profound scripture. It's extraordinary. Gunatitanand Swami spoke for 40 years. This is an extract of that. In some of the other Swaminarayan organizations, they have 5 prakaran, not the additional 2. We won't go into that discussion here. But Gunaditanand Swami has said about himself that I am just appearing here. Aya a sadhu dekhai che, I'm not actually here. And the Shishya of Gunaditanand Swami, Shri Bhagatji Maharaj, he wanted to know during his sadhana time, who are you? Where do you live? What is your home actually? There's a whole bhajan actually that speaks to this point. Where is your real home? Tamaru ghar kya che? He says, I've done seva, I've done everything. I know you're enlightened, you're amazing, but I want to know that place. I want to experience that place where you really are living. And then the story goes that Bhagatji Maharaj was placed, he was asked to sit in dhyan for over a week, and then he had different experiences and realization. Because it is through only meditation that ultimately you can realize that final truth. All the other steps are preparatory. This is also discussed in Vachanamrut about the power of meditation in many, many ways. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that a liberated being who never loses their liberation, never forgets, is called Vismruti in Gujarati. I don't know, maybe in Sanskrit also. Smriti means remembrance. I am is a constant remembrance. Soham, I am Atma Brahma Tattvam. Is a continual realization that I'm always this. That is Anadi Mukta. It's a constant realization that I am the Atma, I am the Akshara Brahma. There's no forgetting that, even while the manifestation is going on. Just like I'm sitting with Zoom right now, I can see my image, but I know. Every second I know that my reality is this reality, not that reality that is shown on the screen. What is shown on the screen is what? It is an image only. It is a projection. Similarly, the great sages, the great liberated beings from different spiritual realities, they come into this world, but they're always there. But they appear here. So this appearance here is it's for the benefit of the people here. The people who have a human body, the Jivatma that has gotten human body, those great liberated beings, they project themselves as in human form. Now this itself is a massive subject. How does that happen? How can a liberated being project himself or project itself? It's not him or her necessarily, but project itself in a particular form here. How is that possible? It is possible because of their power. The liberated beings have infinite power, Ananta Shakti, because they are Brahma Swarupa, they are Brahma Rupa. They are one with Brahman. So how much power does Brahman have? Infinite. Don't we say Anantam? This word is Ananta, without end. Ananta Shakti Shali. Infinite power. So each liberated being actually has infinite power. Now, we can even say they are within that infinite power. So another way to think of this is that great reality called God, Parabrahma, by the will of the divine, the manifestation occurs inside Prakriti. Now there are many questions that would come about. Why is Prakriti there? Why is there bondage? Why is there Mahamaya? All of this is answered in Vachanamrut. Everything. There's not a question that I have found yet that is not answered in Vachanamrut. In my own study for the last 25 years, anything anybody asks, there is an answer somewhere in that extraordinary Paravani of Maharaj. And you will find similar things in other scriptures also. Because truth is one, but truth is infinite. So anyway, the point here is that the manifestation, Avtaran as it is called, this is described by Maharaj where those muktas, those liberated beings are always liberated. And they never lose their liberation for a fraction of a second while they're performing their activity here. And they are aware that this is a charitra, it's a lila, it is being performed either by the will of Paramatma, by Bhagwan, the Aksharatit Paramatma, or it is by their own desire, and God has given them the okay, essentially, that, yeah, go ahead, and because that's your desire, so God fulfills your desire. It's another desire. If you want to see how millions of universes are created and destroyed, He can make you a Pradhan Purusha or a Virat Purusha. This is described also. These are high-level ideas beyond anybody's imagination. But those muktas can take different forms at different times based on their desire. And then there are those liberated beings who have no such desire for anything except to be in loving relationship in service of God. Seva muktischa gamyatam. Shikshapatri. There are those, they now, by the will of Paramatma, Bhagwan, they can be manifested here. So, the question of who is Sahajanand Swami, this is a protracted discussion. There are many perspectives on this, objectively. But right now, all I'm trying to present in the time that we have is that when he manifested here, he went through a highly integrated and interconnected set of spiritual practices where they all hang together. It is not one against another. I myself have been studying the lives of sages for many years. Some sages will emphasize Gyan. Some sages will emphasize Ashtang Yoga. Some sages will emphasize only Bhakti, like in the ISKCON tradition, beautiful tradition. The tremendous emphasis on Bhakti. Some will emphasize Dharmaniyam, performing good works for others, Karma Yoga type. Some will emphasize Mantra Sadhana, like that is there in the Shakti Upasana, let's say. Some will emphasize Seva. So, all are beautiful, all are great. And there are so many of this type, so many approaches. In the life of Sahajanand Swami, his life in a nutshell, I can tell you this much, I would say this much, that it is a combination of all of the various paths, all synchronized together and manifesting in that being. Bhakti is there, Jnana is there, Vairagya is there, Dharma is there, Seva is there, Tapasya is there, Ashtang Yoga is there. What is not there? The ability to take massive amounts of scriptural knowledge and extract the quintessence of that knowledge. In Gujarati, it is called Saransh. The quintessence of the Gita, the quintessence of the 18,000 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the quintessence of the four Vedas, the essence of the Upanishads, 108 Upanishads, the essence of even other scriptures like from Guru Granth Sahib or from Kabir Das Ji or from Ramayana or from the Yog Vashishta, from anywhere. This quintessence, the ability to extract what is needed, that which is needed for Atyantika Mukti, Atyantika Dukha Nivrutti, as the Vivek Chudamani says. Atyantik means final liberation. There's no dropping back into the vortex of Mahamaya. That is his life, right from beginning. Through his father, he had learned quite a bit of scriptures. He had even gone to various different Pandits and had established Vishishtadvaita. Why he's emphasizing Vishishtadvaita, we'll go into all that. And as time went on, in the childhood, you as a bhakta, in the role of a bhakta, going to the different temples, the Ganesha temple, the Mahadev temple, in that village of Chapaya, so many different temples are there. In the home, there is the worship of the Shaligram and of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. Constant bhakti. from childhood. So the manifestation is here. What is the manifestation showing? Continuous bhakti. Right from childhood. Wisdom, this extracting the essence of scriptures at a tender age of 7. And then making that into a written form and then carrying it with him when he left the home to go into the Himalayas. He extracted. So this quality is beautiful. In today's world, we all need this quality because we are over flooded with information from every angle. Now because of the internet and because of all the databases and because of all the literature out there and all the different shows and everything, it's a flood of information. At that time, during the time of Maharaj, when he was a young boy, at that time, 200 plus years back, 250 years back, I guess, there wasn't any technology of this kind. There wasn't even electricity even at that time. But that mental quality to extract the essence, that we find in his life charitra and in his words, his vachana. That is, vachana is this extracted format. Extracted. Like for example, we can buy those essences right in the stores, like rose essence and different essences are there of different flowers. It's an extract. So if you put just one drop on your shirt, you feel that tremendous smell. 1 or 2 drops, but you won't feel that same intensity even just with one rose flower. It's like that. Similarly, Vachanamrut, the word Amrut is the nectar. It is Amrut means that which gives you eternal life. When you drink Amrut, the word Amrut means what? It is like in the history of India, this notion that the gods drink Amrut. Amrit pite hai, devtas. That once they drink that, they become immortal. They're not actually immortal, but they have long life. That's what they drink, Amrutam. So, Amrut in this context, these are words spoken in the Gujarati language with Sanskrit references in some verses here and there, and some Hindi references. Simple Gujarati language, village type language, because he was with villagers. These are not people with PhD degrees in molecular biology and stuff like that. These are people, these are illiterate people. A lot of them are illiterate. But there's also individuals who are great pandits sitting in front of Maharaj. Maharaj meaning after he got onto the Gadi, Ramanand Swami placed him on the Gadi. That's where this whole Vachanamrutam and all this begins. But this is another interesting point. From illiterate village people all the way to the highest level of acharyas at that time, they were all sitting with him all at one time. So, what was spoken, Maharaj may have spoken for half an hour, 1 hour. The 4 editors, 4 sadhus, 4 paramahansas, they were the writers. They were writing everything down. What is the question asked? What is the answer? Question answer. All this. And who are they? That is Muktanand Swami, Shukanand Swami, Gopalanand Swami, and Nityanand Swami. These are the 4. Unke bhi sab charitra hai. They have long histories who these 4 are, and other paramahansas also. They have written thousands of pages worth of Kavya Grantha. Brahmananda Kavya, Muktananda Kavya. Nityanand Swami was a Mahapandit. He used to have a cart full of scriptures. So they would actually, people would be carrying a cart, but whenever he will go to meet with other Pandits, he would have a cart like 500 scriptures, 1,000 books would be in there from that time. He was of that caliber. So these 4 were the editors of Vachanamrut. See, Brahmanand Swami, Nityanand Swami, Muktanand Swami, Gopalanand Swami. Gopalanand Swami has his own charitra, tremendous charitra. will cover some of that. But again, I don't want to emphasize too much on Charitra in these recordings. I want to get into the Vachanamrut. I'm just trying to bring the background a little bit. Otherwise, we'll be lost in the Charitras, which is great, which is beautiful. But it's a different kind of recording a little bit. I'll try to mix it in a little bit here and there. Anyway, these 4 editors, so there were thousands of pages written in Gujarati, and it's in that language, the way it was written at that time. And these are called Kannada in Gujarati. These are like rough draft. So from that, these 4 editors got together and they pulled together these 200 and let's just say 273 days worth of material, because there was many things were repeated and whatnot, so they had to cut some things out and whatnot, and they edited the whole thing without changing the actual language of Maharaj. They put in the quintessence. Here's a question asked, what is the actual answer? Maharaj may have spoken for a half an hour, but there was no recorder at that time. So they didn't write down, they wrote down a lot of material, but it's not verbatim, one, word to word to word, like how we would have a transcript today. It's not of that kind. With all the advent of technology, now we have everything recorded word to word. That wasn't the case at that time. So they had these thousands of pages written. Then they got together and they created Vachanamrut. They created it and they showed it to Maharaj at that time. And that actually, the incident of that is also in the Vachanamrut itself. That this Granth, that is Vachanamrut, is shown. And Maharaj read that. He said, this is fine, beautiful. He approved it. He approved it. He said, this is okay. This is no problem. And this is just my anubhav with this. That for me, this Vachanamrut, there's nothing like this. There are great scriptures, the Gita and others, and we love them all. I don't mean to make the statement as like one is above another. I don't mean it that way. It means that what it has in this, it is so extraordinary that all we can do is try to drink one drop. One drop of this is enough. Nobody has the capacity to drink the whole thing. Impossible. I have sat down myself with great sages in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya who have been sadhus for 40 years, 50 years. They are highly evolved. And they say that we cannot still make heads or tails of this Vachanamrut. And they have been meditating and contemplating and trying to live according to that in their particular paramparas for years as tyagi sadhus, as renunciate monks. And they still say, we cannot make heads or tails of this. Itna isme apar mahima hai. Why? What does that indicate? The growth of the sadhaka into the mukta state. That's why they're saying that. Of course they have realized so much, what's in there. But there are deeper and deeper levels of realization, even among the muktas. It's like this. Take a worldly example. If you have a medical school and you have 100 graduates with an MD degree, yes, they all have passed the exams. But there are still differences of their level. Some has more understanding, some has a little less, some has this, some has that. They all have a certain level that they are graduates. But then, once they go into the medical science further, they can go into so many areas and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Isn't it so? The same thing is true on the spiritual side, or spiritual realization. Once a jivatma evolves into mumukshutvam and then approaches mukti, then all of this extraordinary opening happens. And that's really where the first Vachanamrut begins, which we will talk about next time. And we'll begin it next time. This is just the background. That the Vachanamrut is for who? Actually, in one sense, it is for all of humanity, of course. Just like the Gita is for everybody, the Bible is for everybody, the Guru Granth Sahib is for everybody. It's for everybody. It's not about a particular language or a particular tradition or a particular group or any of those things. Vachanamrutam is for everyone. But specifically, it is for those who are intent, who have an intention to realize what is the Atma, to realize the Atma, to realize the Paramatma, to open the dimension into the higher tattvas. They want to realize God. Sakshatkar, this is the word. Atma Sakshatkar, Paramatma Sakshatkar. Sakshatkar is beyond belief. But it is for those who are doing sadhana, for those who are wanting to realize that higher reality, who want out of the bondages of the three gunas of Maya. That itself is massive. Who wants that in the world? Right? So even realize that there is the bondage of Maya is a big thing. And from that realization, the wanting to come out of that, as Maharaj said in Vachanamrut, in Gujarati he said, Jene bhare sukhni ichha, meaning one who wants in much greater level of joy than something that is offered in the realm of Prakriti. The realm of Prakriti has it has a mixed experience, and there are limitations, which I've talked about in the general satsang on energy and satsang. I've talked a lot about that in there. But we'll talk about that here also, that the limitations of Prakriti are clearly perceived by the mumukshu. So Vachanamrutam is for those, the teachings, the understanding, the depth, the contemplation is for those who are truly aiming for realization by pleasing God. Now there's something special here, and I think this is probably true in other scriptures also. Vachanamrut is written in seemingly simple Gujarati, but there is a blessing there by Maharaj. Shreeji Maharaj, Swaminarayan Bhagwan, he said that if you keep studying this Vachanamrut and keep reading it again and again and again, Maharaj said, I myself will explain to you what it is. There is a blessing in the Vachanamrut. And there's also another blessing which many saints have experienced, that if the Vachanamrutam is read cover to cover 108 times, at that point Bhagavan Swaminarayan Sakshat, he comes to you and gives you darshana. And I think that would be true with other scriptures. Once you go into something in depth again and again, that thing becomes part of your realization. Anyway, these are some of the glories of that repetition. I myself have been studying it since the year 1991. This is year 2022. The first time I saw that book was in that red book in Gujarati. In seeing that book, I could feel the divinity. I don't know how to explain it. I cannot explain it. And then read the English translation, and then there was no end after that. And so many gurus, their blessings. And it just keeps growing. Every day there's something new, different ways. Now there are, in the few minutes we have left here, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos by sages. Most of them are in Gujarati on Vachanamrutam. That's why Sachin is trying to, as a seva, to offer this in English, to take it out of the organizational boundaries and place it in a universal platform, so that the spirituality can be accessed by everyone, can be enjoyed by everyone, and everyone can get blessings from that, because it is a blessed scripture. It is an extremely divine. There are devotees in Swaminarayan Sampradaya which I have seen. If you go to their home, they have the Vachanamrut in their puja, and they worship the Granth. It's similar to like in the Sikh tradition, the Guru Granth Sahib is worshipped. There are devotees in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, and the others are also doing that with Gita and whatnot. They worship the Granth. They worship it as form of God. Madhavani Madharupam. My words are my form. So they do 108 pradikshana, they do the arti. There's even a Vachanamrut arti, and there's so many things that are done. It's incredible. There's a Vachanamrut Jayanti also. When the Vachanamrut was actually brought out, that's celebrated in many Swaminarayan temples. So it is a par excellence work. It is in fact, I have heard, I don't know how accurate this might be, but it may be true, that it is the first written book in the Gujarati language. So when the Gujarati language was actually formalized at that time, this is the first book that was written in the Gujarati language. And it was written in somewhat older Gujarati. The Vachanamrut language that we have now is a little bit more modern Gujarati. It's not modern, it's still from that time, but they had to fix some words to make them understandable. It wasn't changed, this changes not the meaning at all. It is Divyavani. Sriji Maharaj himself has said that he's speaking from Anirdesha. Anirdesh means that which is beyond all the boundaries of Prakriti. He's speaking from that extraordinary state. As I mentioned, the divine being is beyond Prakriti, is manifesting here, never forgets who one is, but is manifesting here. So the body can be taken and body can be go. Just like I can turn off my Zoom recording, but I'm still present. I can turn the Zoom recording off. There's a recording of it. It's like that. It is an appearance in Prakriti, as opposed to our taking this body. In fact, even the Jivatmas that are within Maya, they're also appearing within Prakriti. Even Advaita Vedanta will say that. But we take it as real. That's the problem. Then that's what causes the entire life and death and all the vasanas and all this. Then that causes the whole entanglement in life and death cycle. Sajanand Swami also mentioned this as Anvay Swarup. See the thing, in my case, when I start talking about this, one thing will lead to another. It will just go on. There will not be a breaking point. So I have to stop it somewhere, because like a switch that gets turned on and there's no stopping it. One thing goes to another. So it's something like that. But these are the extraordinary things. It is an amrutam. It is divinity in its every way. I'll just make this final comment for today. That all the scriptures, all the acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Adi Shankaracharya ji, Vallabhacharya, Nimbarakacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great Vaishnava acharyas, the great yogic acharyas, if you go through their thousands of scriptures, and to find the extract is all in Vachanamrut. Bhagavad Gita, all in Vachanamrut. Extraordinary things are there, written by Maharaj, and there are things that are spoken that are not in those scriptures also. That is something new. Like the two forms of Akshara Brahma, Sakar and Nirakar. That is something new. That is not really there in other scriptures. Not directly, it's there in some other ways. There are sages who have done PhDs on these subjects, who have gotten massive degrees on these subjects also in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya. Right? So we will stop here for today. I will just say a closing slok, and then we will continue this next time. Okay, so here we go. Om karacharnagatam va kayajam karmajam va shrananajam va manasam va paradam vitam va sarvametat shamasva jai jai karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho. Om Bhagavate Shri Sahajananda Swami Maharajaya Namo Namah Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha.